This Week with Bob Mueller on News 2.
This week,
we recognize that these are very real issues, and I'm really excited to see bipartisan efforts.
Nashville's district attorney and GOP lawmakers move forward legislation to keep guns away from people deemed mentally unfit to stand trial.
You know, I really don't want to criticize someone in our government.
A new report claims sufficient evidence. Department of Children's Services Commissioner Margie Quinn made discriminatory comments in front of her employees. More in our This Week cover story.
The goal of this effort is to allow policymakers to investigate what happened at Covenant and why it happened.
A legislative move to have the Covenant school shooters' so-called manifesto released.
It's just so upsetting to see that is happening in our state.
And another try to end corporal punishment in Tennessee schools. Hello again, and welcome to another edition of This Week. More controversy at the Department of Children's Services. Nashville's DA and GOP lawmakers work on legislation to keep firearms away from people deemed not competent to stand trial. A push to end corporal punishment in Tennessee schools and a legislative move to force the release of the Covenant shooters' writings.
Debate over the Covenant shooters' writings has been fierce.
The goal of this effort is to allow policymakers to investigate what happened at Covenant and why it happened, and use that information to develop good policy to protect students.
A new bill from Brentwood Republican Representative Gino Bolso would force law enforcement to release a copy of the writings without limitation or condition if a lawmaker requests it. The bill only deals with shooting incidents that occurred at a public or private school in the state in March of 2023, which Democrats say is a clear attack on Covenant families.
It's really disappointing that they're trying to focus on the diary of a murderer rather than the actual issue plaguing every community across the state of Tennessee.
The Covenant Families for Brighter Tomorrow's nonprofit declined an interview for this story, but did provide a statement that read, "We do not feel House Bill 1653 is worth engaging on and will continue to focus our efforts on legislation that has the ability to bring meaningful change and safety to our communities. The victims of this tragedy were robbed of the opportunity to have a voice. That is not a privilege they will grant the shooter." Though some families did speak after a conservative commentator shared 3 leaked pages of the writings last year.
These writings do have the ability to inspire further attacks. And not just on us, on other communities. We saw this in Allen, Texas, where that shooter referenced the Covenant shooter. How many more people have to be killed in a senseless way so that you can get clicks?
When I asked Bolso about respecting the privacy of Covenant families, he says not all families want it out of the public eye.
First, should be pointed out that not all members of the Covenant community feel the same way about this or any of the other issues on which a number of the Covenant parents have expressed political opinions.
In Nashville, Chris O'Brien.
17 states, including Tennessee, still allow spanking and paddling of school students. For the second time, a state senator is sponsoring a bill to end corporal punishment across the state.
Back in the fall, TBI says a Jackson County elementary school teacher hit a student with a paddle while the assistant principal watched. A grand jury indicted the teacher, Jackson Patterson, for simple assault, and the assistant principal, Tina Lynn, for criminal responsibility.
It's just so upsetting to see that is happening in our state.
The Jackson County School District says both staff members are still on unpaid leave until everything is settled in court.
What kind of message are we sending to children when we do that? That we're sending the message that the way that we should deal with conflict is through physical violence.
In 2022, State Senator Heidi Campbell sponsored a bill which would prohibit corporal punishment, but it failed. This week, she refiled the bill.
This is the exact same bill that we sponsored in 2022.
Currently, Tennessee law allows for corporal punishment for, quote, good cause in order to maintain discipline and order within the public schools. But Campbell says Tennessee's big school districts like Shelby, Nashville, Williamson, and Murfreesboro have banned the punishment.
I think that it's a really good time for us to take the step of just eliminating corporal punishment altogether. There are only 17 states that allow it, and Tennessee should not be one of them.
She says this type of punishment negatively impacts children's development and mental health.
We don't allow corporal punishment in military environments. We don't allow it in juvenile detention centers. So why on earth will we be allowing it in our schools?
In Nashville, Kendall Ashman, News 2.
Now to our This Week cover story and new controversy at Tennessee's Department of Children's Services. A newly obtained report found what it calls sufficient evidence. Commissioner Margie Quinn made discriminatory comments in front of her employees. Here's News 2's Adam Mincer.
Tonight, newly obtained documents from a state investigation finding what it calls sufficient evidence that DCS Commissioner Margie Quinn made discriminatory comments against veterans and based on sex. The Tennessee Department of Human Resources investigation began in September 2023 and is based on 5 witness interviews, written complaints, and emails. It states one DCS employee told investigators he heard Quinn say she didn't think military personnel should get lifetime benefits and law enforcement should. Quinn denied saying that while speaking to investigators, but the report says she admitted to comments like, "I don't quip with veterans getting what they get, but I sure wish police would be treated just as well." Going on to say, "I served for 26 years and I didn't get squat." Another witness recalled Quinn talking about how a person may only get one deployment and then collect disability for the rest of his or her life. According to her official biography and LinkedIn profile, Quinn served for 5 years with the Cobb County Police Department in Georgia and spent 20 years working for the Tennessee Bureau of Investigation.
When I left, I was the commander.
Retired U.S. Army Colonel and Republican Tennessee State Senator Richard Briggs called the comments and report offensive. He said he respects police officers, but their benefits shouldn't be compared to service members.
In a second, on one deployment, and you've lost both your legs, both your arms, you've seen your friends who you work with and know every day, like your brothers and your sisters, die. In that 1 or 2 seconds, can affect you the rest of your life.
Where does your faith in Commissioner Quinn stand after reading these comments?
I really don't want to criticize someone in our government because sometimes all of us say things that we wish we could take back. And I really hope that in her heart that she does not feel this way about our veterans who have sacrificed so much. If she does, it's very serious, but I just hope that this was just a careless moment.
The report also found instances where Quinn allegedly made discriminatory comments based on sex. One DCS employee is quoted as saying Quinn told them, "Dads don't bring kids to appointments." Others had similar stories. In a statement, Commissioner Quinn told News 2, "At DCS, I strive to foster an inclusive environment where all employees are respected and valued. I know that isolated comments I've made in the past may have unintentionally fallen short of my expected high standards. I deeply regret them, take responsibility for them, and promise to do better."
Stay with us. This Week continues in a moment.